Another side who had a very disastrous World Cup qualification campaign. Italy didn't make the World Cup once again. The Azzurri are out, falling 1-0 in the first round of the European qualification. And I think it typified Italy. They should have won, dominated, absolutely it was a demolition job, that game, and they just couldn't find the goal, and it was a very typical Italy performance to put it lightly. And I've spoken to some Italian people in the aftermath of that game, for fuck's sake. And the consensus is we'll take the Euro win if we don't qualify for World Cup, which each of their own. I personally wouldn't do that, but this is the second time they haven't qualified for the World Cup, and it's weird. They're in such a weird place because they just won the Euros, right? So they're officially the best team in Europe. I know that's weird to say, but they are, and they didn't qualify for World Cup. So you can't make this drastic change and this drastic top to bottom grassroots level change in Italian football because we've seen that it works, right? So it must just be a playing squad thing. I think it has to be a playing squad thing, because I tipped them as not favourites, but I thought they'd go far in Euro 2020. So they had that expectation going into it, especially maybe from me, but I think that's the consensus from most other people that were previewing that tournament. They were not favourites, but they were expected to do pretty well, right? And they won it, potentially unexpectedly, but they won it, and they won it well as well. And now they didn't qualify for the World Cup, which they're in such a weird place, like I said, because you have, for me, my mind goes back to England, where in 2013, they did a radical change. After the 2012 Euros, which was underwhelming, they did a radical change. And 2010 World Cup, which was abysmal, they did a radical change from top to bottom. Grassroots level, they changed everything. A decade on, we're seeing that come to fruition. We're seeing those changes really come to the fore with the youth. Obviously, Mount, Gallagher, Raheem Sterling's hitting his prime, Harry Kane's hitting his prime, Jack Grealish, Declan Rice. I could go on and on, right? Phil Foden, right? I could go on. And then you see that with Germany as well. You see that in 2000, I think there was that period of 2002 and 2004, so the Euros and the World Cup. I don't think they did too well. I just want to double check that. I want to get my facts right. But there was a period in the early 2000s where they weren't where they wanted to be, right? They were struggling. They were not developing any youth players, and that real 80s and 90s success through the likes of Oliver Kahn and Lothar Matthäus and Gerd Müller, even a little bit earlier than that was slowly coming to an end. So I'm trying to check there. Okay. So in 2006 they've notoriously done well at the World Cup. They came runners up in 2002. But it was the Euros, I'm pretty sure, yeah. In the Euros, they got knocked down the group stage in the Euros of 2000, 2004. And they made a radical change to their footballing system from top to bottom. The Bundesliga, the second Bundesliga, the DF Pokal, I think that's what their football federation is called, where they made a radical change. Changed everything. Fresh start. 10 years later, they won the World Cup. So, do Italy need to go to that extent? I don't know. Would it be useful for them to make a drastic change, whether that's manager, playing staff, coaching staff, administration, backroom staff? Potentially, I don't think it'd necessarily be a bad thing. But you're looking at the domestic league. They haven't really been dominant as they were in the early mid 2000s. Obviously, mid 2000s, you're looking at AC Milan with one of the best teams ever assembled. in like the mid 2000s. Obviously, Inter Milan was still fantastic. Juventus maybe a little bit earlier than that. So that really set the ground and set the foundations for having an unbelievable international team. And obviously you're looking at it now. Obviously, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus, Napoli are good teams, but not stretch of the imagination are they bad. But Juventus just got knocked out of the Champions League. Inter Milan didn't really have a chance against Liverpool. So, like, you're looking at these things, right? But I don't necessarily think it's the worst thing in the world for Italy not to make the World Cup, considering they'd won the Euros. If they'd done shit in the Euros and then not made the World Cup, then there's panic stations. But I think Italy need to make a drastic change. Personally, Italy need to make a drastic change to their whole footballing department out of this, because it's not good enough. In isolation, not making the World Cup as Italy is not good enough. And then when you couple that in the fact of they didn't make a last World Cup, and the World Cup before that, they were abysmal. You've had 3 World Cup campaigns which have ended in absolute disaster. There needs to be some form of drastic change to completely turn around the fortunes of that footballing country, because it's historically been so rich and so proud of what they are, and they're slowly losing that. And I understand they won the Euros, and I understand that they've performed well in other tournaments, but they need to break this World Cup duck, and it's going to take something, and I think that they need to change quickly, because it doesn't look good for them.